Thank you for having my child, Claire. I'm sure he'll be as handsome as you. Upon hearing that my sister had given birth, I was shocked by the conversation coming from the hospital room as I stood in front of the door. It was unmistakably the voices of my sister and husband. I was surprised that my husband was there, and even more surprised that the child was his and my sister's. I actually wanted a girl who looked like Claire. Oh. Should we have another one then? It seems that the real father of the child my sister had given birth to was my husband, and the two had been having an affair behind my back for a long time. I understood everything from that conversation alone. Then, determined, I opened the door to my sister's hospital room. This was the first step towards my revenge. My name is Katie Irving. I am 34 years old. I'm currently a housewife, but before I got married, I worked in the accounting department of a small to medium-sized company. I also have an older sister, Claire. However, my sister had many behavioral problems since her school days and often ended up in trouble with the police because of them. Perhaps because of this, she has always had a bad relationship with our parents. And after dropping out of high school, she ran away from home. After that, I lost all contact with her. Our parents were at a loss about what to do, but eventually decided that she would come back on her own and did not ask the police to search for her. However, she was my beloved sister. I secretly searched for her on my own, but I realized that I couldn't do it alone. Just as I was thinking of relying on my parents and acquaintances, my parents, who were already elderly, passed away one after the other. When my parents died, I was busy with preparations for the wake and funeral as I was already a working adult. And I didn't have time to search for my sister. After all the necessary tasks, such as my parents' funeral, were finished, I was in despair. What am I going to do now? I'm all alone. I had been able to live this long because of my father and mother's support. Can I really manage on my own? During this time, a friend who had always been concerned about my mental and physical health invited me to a cafe one day. As we sat down, my friend was fiddling with her smartphone and said, "Hey, do you know this person? I think it might be your sister, isn't it?" "What? Let me see." According to my friend, my sister Claire was active on social media as a yoga instructor. I immediately checked the video my friend showed me. It was definitely my sister Claire. Her video streaming was popular, and she had tens of thousands of subscribers. I was moved to tears with happiness that my sister was living well. Wanting to see her, I wrote a message in the comments section. Immediately, I received a reply. From then on, after more than a decade, I resumed contact with my sister via social media. As if to fill the void of the past years, I communicated with my sister daily. Soon after, I was able to meet my sister again. My sister, whom I met for the first time in years, had changed into a completely different person. A lovely and elegant woman, which surprised me. "Is it really you, sis? Oh, please. Did you forget what I look like after not seeing me for just a dozen years?" "It's my sister. How have you been?" I cried with emotion and hugged my sister. She was happy about our reunion and apologized for letting me go through hard times alone. After that, we repaired the family bond to the extent that we shared our recent situations with each other. After meeting my sister again, I returned to my normal life. My friends and colleagues were happy that I had regained my spirits. Because everyone supported me, I feel very grateful for being who I am today. Later, feeling uplifted, I joined a tennis club for working adults at the invitation of a friend. In that tennis club, I met a man named Peter Irving. Peter, 3 years older than me, was a wonderful man who patiently taught me tennis even though I was a beginner. Peter, interested in my earnest effort to learn tennis, often invited me to dinner after the tennis club sessions. Katie, you really are a hard worker, aren't you? Not at all. It's because you teach so well, Peter, that I feel I must try hard. You say such nice things. How about it? Shall we go see a movie next time? I got some movie tickets. Ah, this? I've been wanting to see this movie. I'd love to go. Okay. Let's go on our next day off. I was interested in Peter, so I was very happy about his invitation. I looked forward to our next day off and wondered what to wear. At such times, I would consult with my sister and get her advice. On the promised day off, I arrived at the meeting place early, and Peter also came earlier than the scheduled time. Since both of us had come early without realizing it, we laughed together. Then, until the movie started, we talked about our private lives and each other's hobbies. We realized that we had many hobbies in common. When I mentioned that my sister was a yoga instructor. Is that the beautiful instructor Claire? Yes. Peter, do you know her? Know her? I'm actually a fan of Claire and often watch her videos. I didn't know that. Discovering that Peter was a fan of my sister became a turning point. And we began to go out to eat more often, eventually leading to a relationship. Peter, who was about to be promoted at work soon, proposed to me. Thus, we got engaged and went to greet Peter's parents. Peter's parents were very kind and were very happy about our marriage. I sent a message about the marriage to my sister via Messenger, and she called me right away. Katie, congratulations. You're getting married before me. I'm so envious. Thank you. You're too popular, sis. You could get married anytime. And she apologized for all the trouble she caused by running away from home. But I might not be able to make time for the meet and greet or the greetings. But I'll be there for the wedding. That's okay. Peter understands. Just make sure you come to the wedding since you're like a parent to me. Then she said she had to go back to work, and the call ended. I felt happy with my sister's heartfelt blessings. Despite being busy with work, I felt that my sister prioritized me, which showed her kindness. I also announced my marriage at work. My boss and colleagues all congratulated me, and I felt truly happy. As I proceeded with the wedding preparations, I decided to quit my job and become a full-time housewife to support my husband after marriage. My husband had also asked me to become a full-time housewife once we were married, and I agreed. Katie, what shall we do about the house after we get married? Well, considering we might have children in the future, a spacious house would be nice. A spacious house, might as well have a garden. Let's buy the house in a place where you'd like to live. Really? Thank you. I took care of the wedding preparations and the new house instead of Peter, who had become busier after his promotion. It was tough doing it alone, but he joined me for the important decisions and thought things through. I grew to love Peter more, as he was kind and reliable. After registering our marriage, we immediately moved to a detached house with a garden in the suburbs. Of course, the purchase had been completed before our marriage. As Peter had suggested, we chose a location that was convenient for me and within a 30-minute drive to his company, making it a great location. Now we can interact with nature, and I think it's a good environment for when we have children. As expected, Katie. You really think about the future. In the early days of our marriage, we lived happily every day. However, I was unaware that this happiness would soon crumble. 3 years into our marriage, I turned 34. However, we were not blessed with children, and I began to feel anxious. One reason for my anxiety was that I was in my mid-30s, and the risk of complications for both mother and child increases with older pregnancies. Moreover, around this time, Peter started coming home late. He also started carrying his smartphone around the house. He was always on his phone, even during meals and baths. "Hey, you've been using your smartphone a lot recently, what's up?" "Ah, work has been busy recently, and a subordinate made a mistake, so I'm cleaning up after him." When I asked, my husband said it was work-related. However, he often looked at his smartphone and smiled. Despite initially suspecting my husband's infidelity, I couldn't confront him because of the guilt of not being able to have children. After all, Peter was looking forward to having a child with me. Why can't I get pregnant? Not being able to get pregnant was also a concern for me, and I thought about getting diagnosed. In the meantime, my sister announced that she had major news to share in a video. Thinking something had happened to my sister, I decided to watch her video broadcast. During the broadcast, she announced that she was pregnant. Who? Sis, when did you get pregnant? We had been in touch recently, and she hadn't mentioned anything like that. Rather, when did she get married? Or is she about to? I hadn't heard any news of her marriage. I wonder what kind of person her husband is. I felt a bit frustrated that she hadn't told me directly, but I was so happy about her pregnancy that I immediately sent her a message. Then, my sister invited me to have dinner together, and we made plans to meet. That evening, I told my husband that my sister was pregnant. Huh, really? Claire is pregnant? Yes, that's right. She announced it during today's video broadcast, and I was so surprised. I see. That's wonderful. My husband was as happy as if it were his own news. Watching him start to think about what to give as a congratulatory gift, I couldn't help but laugh. However, my next words momentarily unsettled him. "So, I've made plans to have dinner with my sister next time." Is that so? Yes. What's wrong? No, nothing. Just remember, Claire is pregnant now, so don't let her overdo it. I was slightly puzzled by my husband's fidgety and flustered behavior. But I was so happy about my sister's pregnancy that I decided to think it was just my imagination. A few days later, I went to the restaurant where I was meeting my sister. She had already arrived. I found my sister, took my seat, and after ordering our meal, I bombarded her with questions. "Hey, sis. Congratulations. When did you get pregnant?" I was so surprised. Sorry. I thought I'd surprise you with the news. But I wished you had told me sooner." "So, who's the father of the baby?" "That's a secret for now. I'll introduce him soon." "What? I'm so curious." "Tell me soon." After that, my sister and I chatted about trivial things and enjoyed our meal. My sister's pregnancy progressed, and her belly grew day by day. Thinking that it would soon be inconvenient for her to do things alone, I offered to help her with daily tasks. "Sis, it must be getting tough to manage alone, right? Should I help you with anything?" "No, it's okay. Don't worry. I have someone helping me, so I'm fine." "Got it. If anything happens, call me right away, okay?" I repeatedly offered to help my sister, but for some reason, she stubbornly refused my offers and wouldn't even give me her apartment address. I discussed it with my husband as well. She's probably got a maid or someone helping her out. "Katie, you don't need to worry. She would contact us if something was wrong. You don't need to go to her place unnecessarily." "Well, that makes sense. Ah. And I'll be home late tomorrow, so I won't need dinner." Oh, really? Okay. I had no choice but to accept my husband's words, but his behavior, smiling while looking at his smartphone and saying this, also made me suspicious. I was worried about my sister, but Peter's behavior had been increasingly suspicious lately. I finally began to suspect my husband of cheating and decided to secretly gather evidence. Several months later, I received word that my sister had given birth. I rushed to the hospital to celebrate for my sister. As I was about to open the door to the hospital room, I heard voices inside. "Thanks for coming, Peter." "No, thank you for having my child, Claire. I'm sure he'll be as handsome as you." I actually wanted a girl who looked like Claire. Oh. Should we have another one then? I was shocked by the conversation I heard. It was unmistakably Peter and my sister's voices. I was surprised that Peter was already here, and even more so that the child was his and my sister's. However, while I was surprised, I managed to stay somewhat calm. I decided to open the door to my sister's hospital room. "Sis, I came to visit you." "Huh? Ah. Katie." "Huh, why is Peter here? Weren't you supposed to be at work today?" Peter was surprised to see me, but I pretended not to know why he was here. "Katie, you came." "Thank you." "You're welcome." "But why is Peter here?" Well, that's because." Peter was clearly flustered. "I heard two people's voices from outside the door just now." "Can you explain what's going on?" Then my sister said to me with a triumphant smile. "What do you mean?" "You know what's going on, right? Peter is the father of this child." Peter is the father. It seemed that the conversation I heard before entering the room was not a misunderstanding. "It's really funny that you didn't even notice Peter and I were dating." "You were having an affair?" "Yes." "Wait, so you lied about making me happy?" "I have no use for someone who can't even have kids." Laughing, my husband and sister revealed that indeed, Peter was the father of my sister's child, and they had been having an affair behind my back. "Actually, I've been a big fan of Claire since before I married you. I heard about that when we started dating. I approached you because I knew you were Claire's sister. I thought if I got along with you, eventually I could get close to Claire." Peter was a fanatical fan and a viewer of my yoga videos. Indeed, my husband was surprised when I first mentioned my sister as we started dating. But I was shocked to learn he was such an enthusiastic fan. "You were such a big fan of my sister." "Of course. I've commented on all of Claire's videos. No man could resist someone as stylish and beautiful as Claire. I always had someone leaving comments on my videos, and I was surprised when I found out it was Peter. It didn't take long for us to start dating after that. I was shocked to learn that the purpose of my marriage was to get close to my sister. Hearing the truth about my husband and sister's affair, I was speechless. "Look, Claire and I have had a child together. Pack your things and disappear from my sight. We're getting a divorce." Saying this, he handed me a pre-filled divorce form. Now I understood why my sister hadn't let me help her or given me her apartment address. I also realized why my husband had been acting so strangely. Driven more by anger than sorrow, I calmly agreed, understood, took the divorce papers, and left the hospital. I could never forgive these two. Filled with despair and anger, I went to the office to file the divorce papers, and Peter and I became strangers. Then, I made a call to a certain place. The next day, my now ex-husband Peter bombarded me with an incredible number of calls. I ignored them for a while, but they didn't stop, so I finally answered. "Hey. Answer the phone. More importantly, Katie, what about the house? The house? I disposed of it since I don't need it anymore. What? Do you think you can do that without my permission? I filed the divorce papers yesterday, so we're strangers now. Why should I listen to a stranger? I had filed the divorce papers the day he handed them to me. After leaving the hospital, I had called a place. That place was a real estate agent. I negotiated with the agent and sold the house and land in its entirety immediately. Don't joke with me. That's my house even if we're divorced. Actually, it's not yours. The house and the land were purchased under my name. What? You wouldn't know since you left all the preparations to me. In fact, both the house and the land were bought with the inheritance I received from my deceased parents. Peter had no idea about the wedding preparations or our new home preparations since he rarely helped. And since I had suspected infidelity, I had installed mini cameras and listening devices around the house. Thanks to that, I gathered evidence of the affair and had been consulting with a lawyer, strategizing when to divorce. Since I was planning to divorce, I used the fact that Peter often came home late to pack my things regularly. So I was able to move out smoothly. Probably, Peter had been returning from my sister's place to our home. Seeing his belongings thrown out in front of the house marked for sale, he hurriedly called me. However, Peter couldn't accept what I said and started arguing. The house and land are marital property, and even protested. You can't do this without my consent. So I argued back just as strongly. I was able to buy the land and the house because of the inheritance my parents left me. That is, moreover, I bought them after you proposed, but before we registered our marriage, right? So they don't count as marital property. What? Since we weren't married yet, we were still strangers then. As Peter was at a loss for words over the phone, I heard someone else say, "Let me speak," and my sister took over the phone. Since learning about the inheritance, my sister seemed frantic. If that's the case, I should have received part of the inheritance too. Claire was furious. However, our parents had clearly stated in their will, "We will not leave anything to our ungrateful daughter Claire," and the inheritance was legally left to me. I explained all this carefully to my sister. But still, Peter and Claire continued to complain over the phone. Ignoring the two of them, I said sarcastically, "I'm busy too. I wish you both happiness," and hung up. I then blocked both Peter and Claire's numbers. Afterward, suddenly left without a place to return, Peter had to live in Claire's apartment. With a child now, Peter remarried Claire. Claire was earning well, so they should have been able to live comfortably. However, the fact that Claire's child was the result of an affair was dramatically reported in a tabloid. And the news spread quickly because the other party was her sister's husband. Claire's popularity as a yoga instructor plummeted. Furthermore, the tabloid started investigating Peter's surroundings, and his company demoted him to a subsidiary. Despite his hard work leading to a promotion, it all went to waste. Claire's yoga class attendance dropped sharply, and her video streaming revenue dried up, forcing them to move out of their apartment. They then moved to a small public apartment, but life was tough with non-cooperative Peter, leading to frequent arguments. Neighbors complained about the noise, and the police had to intervene several times. Meanwhile, now single, I managed to find a new job despite my age. I enjoy working at my new job and live happily every day. Recently, I started playing tennis again and met a new man. We play tennis together on weekends and enjoy conversations over coffee about daily life and tennis. Time has passed since my divorce, and I am planning to remarry soon. We plan to support each other and share many happy days together.